My name is Scharman and I am a child development specialist. I am also on the advisory board here at the Brain Rehab, and I am a patient myself, as well as my 5 children are patients or have been patients at the Brain Rehab. Parent to parent, I'd love to give you a tip that I have learned to help your child's experience be the most successful here at the Brain Rehab. We as parents are the expert of our children. We know them the very best, and truly we love them the very most. And Brain Rehab wants to partner with parents, and they want you to share your expertise on your child. And there are appropriate times to do so. That would be at the very beginning of your child's treatment. In the intake process, you would give as detailed information as you can about your child's development, about your concerns, about your child's strengths and things that you're seeing happening, and the historic nature of your child's development. Those are important things to share. If something happens during treatment, maybe you want Dr. Hatch to know how your child's sleep is going. You would want to communicate that before your child's appointment begins. So whether through email or at the very beginning of the appointment, if there's something very important you need to share, you can share that before your child enters their appointment. I share this because sometimes as parents, we are so invested in the process and we want the growth. We want to see our children improving. And if we're not careful, we can get in the way of that progress. It's very important that we partner with the Brain Rehab to give the information from our expertise eyes, but then we trust Dr. Hatch and his team's expertise, that they know how to take your child where he or she might be to the next area of growth and the next area of growth. And we want to make sure as parents that we are helping that happen and not hindering that. I have a favorite child development. Actually, it's a human development principle because it can apply through the lifespan. It is equilibrium, disequilibrium. When we are in a specific place in our development, it's a point in time. And we often believe that progress and growth just goes up. But in human development, there is a principle of equilibrium, disequilibrium. And so in order to achieve that growth, you have to have disequilibrium or a regression before you come up to the next level of growth. So I like to think of it as a spiral. So you're here and you spiral down, and then that spiral comes up, and it's gonna happen again. So I often tell parents to be patient, that it might feel like you're going backwards. It might feel like this isn't working. In actuality, in order to reach that next level of growth, there have to be regression. Here's one example of just working with like a young child. Maybe a young child is able to get dressed on their own, put their own shoes on, their pants, their shirt. And then one morning, they fall down on the ground in a tantrum, not being able to put on their clothes, saying that they can't get dressed, they can't do it by themselves, they don't want to do it by themselves, and you're ready to pull your hair out. And this happens day 1, day 2, it keeps going, and you're, what's going on? He used to be able to do this. In actuality, you don't have to panic. That regression doesn't mean your child can't get dressed on their own. It just might mean that they're in disequilibrium. I often would tell my children and my teenagers, and now even my young adults, to be patient with themselves. Disequilibrium does not last forever. And the work that is done here at the Brain Rehab helps those disequilibriums move through it faster and not get stuck in disequilibrium. That's the goal. But it also helps us to achieve growth by working the process and working the brain exercises that you are given here at the Brain Rehab. You trust that process so you can achieve growth that you wouldn't otherwise have accomplished. If I could give you another tip, parent to parent, that would be to build routines. There's an incredible book called The Atomic Habit that I read recently that confirms what I have believed for decades, that as we make an important habit or something that we're wanting to become a habit easier, that means we're building it into our everyday routines. We're even ritualizing it, if you will, that this is something that we just do every morning when we wake up, or this is something we just do every day before nap time if you have young children, or this is just something we do every day when we come home from school or get ready for bed. This is what we do. And if you build a station in your home with all of the supplies needed, not an out of the area way where you'll forget about it, but right there in your everyday flow, you make it a part of your home, their room, your kitchen, out in the open. There was a time when all 5 of my children were doing brain exercises at the same time. And so that's what we did every morning. Even my husband and I were on the floor, we were on the chair, we were doing some similar, everyone doesn't do the same brain exercises, but it was just our family. We exercise our bodies, and we're gonna exercise our brains too. And we did that. Maybe you have fun music. Maybe you have something that is going to be an incentive afterwards. We know it's hard. It's hard to lift weights. It's hard to exercise and move our bodies. It's hard to exercise our brains as well. But if you build in those incentives and make it a routine and make it as easy as possible, you yourself will have to break it down into the specifics, and that's something that we can help you do here at the Brain Rehab. Another parent-to-parent tip I would like to give is raising children with special needs. In our home, we call our special needs our superpowers. And in our home, everyone in our home has a superpower, because we all do have special needs, whether those are diagnosed special needs or it's an area that we struggle with. So having these superpowers, we don't like to see them as a limitation. We don't want our children to become victims and to have that victim mentality. We want them to see that some of the challenges that they have in their lives are actually their superpowers. I often will use an analogy when talking to parents who are raising children with special needs. We are planning a vacation. We are planning to go to Hawaii. We have packed our suitcase and we are boarding that plane and we are flying off. And we expect to land in Hawaii. And we actually end up landing in Antarctica. And we weren't prepared. We don't have gloves and a hat and a parka and snow boots. We were expecting something completely different. I've had that experience when I expected my child to be born and to develop in a certain way, and then that didn't happen in the way I had expected. I've worked with parents who have really grieved that, and that is okay to grieve that. And it is also important that we shift as parents. And we're excited now that we're in Antarctica. We see the superpowers that that child with special needs brings into our home, and we help them find those superpowers. What I love about the Brain Rehab is the work that is done here helps those superpowers to become even stronger, but also helps the areas of development that are struggling or lagging to increase and improve. And I've watched with several of my children how the tiniest interventions at a very young age can make a complete difference. And as we trust that process, as we accept and look for the superpowers that come through these special needs, then we are able to truly help our children move forward and not get stuck. And then we are not stuck as parents. Something else I've learned as a parent, we often are putting the sole focus on our child. And I've learned that I need to do my own work It's kind of like when you're flying on an airplane and the flight attendant tells you, if we hit turbulence and your oxygen mask drops from the ceiling, put your own oxygen mask on first and then put your child's oxygen mask on. The same thing is true about parenting and helping our children to become their best selves to reach their potential. We sometimes need to do our own work, make sure we are in a good place mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, so that we can be grounded and ready to give our best selves to our children as they are trying to reach their potential. Dr. Hatch and Christine trust parents' intuition. They want to partner with you and they need you to share your intuition, some of those gut feelings you are having about your child's development, about your child's treatment. Please do not hesitate to share that with Christine and/or Dr. Hatch. And if you are interested in meeting one-on-one or with your family with me, or if you have questions about child, teen, or human development, please contact me in the link included. Have a great day.